So here I am at the start of Interlaken Boulevard, and I'm going to try to follow the old Interlaken bike path route, which I was able to find in this old city plot. The goal of this project is to try to see if I can find any sections of the original trail that are still existing, more or less as they were. A lot of the old trail route was turned into boulevards, like this one. But I'm curious if any of the old trails still exist, or if I can find any signs that the trail used to be there. I mean, this thing hasn't existed for 115 years, something like that. So I don't know if I'm gonna find anything, but I don't know, wish me luck. Hi everybody, welcome to Seattle Bike Blog TV. I am your editor and host, Tom Fucaloro, and we've got kind of a different kind of video today. Jonathan, a wonderful, helpful reader of Seattle Bike Blog, sent me this engineering plot from when the city was first making the old bike path back in 1896, 1897. It's really cool. So it's a hand-drawn plot. You can see the trail is kind of marked out in pencil. And it tracks this bit that I have, goes all the way from Roanoke Park to Madison Valley. And then it has a spur that goes up through the Arboretum. And then if you look really closely, you can sort of see the beginning of the Lake Washington Boulevard route from Madison to the east. But that's where my plot runs out. So I went through and I overlaid what street grid existed in the plot on top of the actual street grid, and it lined up perfectly. And then I, in green, just marked in, basically traced the hand-drawn path so that I could follow it on my phone. So that's what I did in making this video, as I was just kind of following the map around, trying to walk along the green line or bike along the green line as much as possible and see if I could find any evidence of the old path. Now, this path has not existed for probably about 115 years. It was just a dirt path that they leveled out a little path, and then they just put ashes on it, like ashes and basically burned wood chips. And that was the paving material, which, as you can imagine, didn't last very long. And it took a lot of work to keep it going. So, yeah, I hope you enjoy this journey with me, and let's get back to it. I'm at the corner of Roanoke and 10th Avenue, right across the street from Roanoke Park. Here's the fire station. And right here where this silver box is, that's actually the very start of the old bike trail. Obviously, nothing of it exists anymore because right behind those trees is Highway 520, a giant trench, and all of this was changed when 520 went in. So there are no remnants left of the bike trail here. That'd be a cool art project. Someone wanted to, do a mural on this box to kind of commemorate the old trail. That'd be neat. This is the Louisa Boren Memorial Stone, which is on part of this turn. There's a trail back there, and there's a little sign that says, "Do not enter, trail is closed." I think there's been some slide problems back there. But I don't know, maybe that trail was part of the old bike route. It seems to match up. That's pretty interesting. Okay, so this is really cool. This is what inspired me to make this whole video. There's this dirt path, there we go, that cuts around. It's where this hairpin turn in the road. There's this path that runners have made in the dirt. And I looked it up, and it matches up pretty much perfectly with the old bike trail route, which is pretty funny. So this path, which looks like it's just some people being lazy or something, is actually just, it may have been a path all along. It may never have gone away. Or runners just found the same flat route that the original path makers did. Okay, so one of the big things that I wanted to uncover is something I've wondered about a long time, which is, where was the lunch spot? It was called the Good Roads Lunchroom, and it's often referred to as the halfway house because it was halfway between downtown Seattle and the lake, if you were biking this route. And there's this really cool old photo, a couple old photos. This is what it looked like. So you can see the path is on the runs kind of around and behind it, and it is up on stilts because beneath it is this stream runs right through the area. You can see the stream a little bit better in this photo, where you can see the little culvert in the bottom right corner of the photo. That's because a stream ran through it, and a lot of the accounts of the time talked about how lovely it was to hear the trickling stream as you stopped and got a snack. I do not know if this place sold booze because a lot of the people involved in this bike boosting business were actually temperate. They're part of, this is in the run up to Prohibition, so there may not have actually been booze here, but still, I'm sure it was a welcome sight after trudging along a bike path made of ash all the way from downtown Seattle to get here. This rectangle with an X through it is almost certainly the location of the building here. I can't imagine what else it could be. And I was able to find a newspaper reference that described the lunch stop being in the last gully to the east along the route. And this is the last gully to the east, where this is sited. And so from that, I was able to mark that out on my map. And also, I estimated where the camera is. So the little yellow, that's where the camera person would have been standing in this photo. And so then I went out to see if I could find the exact same spot again. I'm on Interlaken Boulevard, and this is one of the hairpin turns in the car-free section. And this is the easternmost gully, which means this should be the site of the famous halfway house, the infamous halfway house. That was halfway between Seattle and Lake Washington, and it's supposed to be sited in this gully somewhere, and I have good reason to believe that it is down there. I found on the plot that's where it's sort of marked out to be, and I followed the GPS and it led me back into this clearing kind of down below the roadway. So we're coming down the street, and it would have stayed more this way where there's still a walking path today, and then right here or so, maybe a little further back, you would start to see the old halfway house. I think it would have been located somewhere in this clearing right here, not too far from the intersection down this path. And then there would be a bridge that kind of went behind the halfway house to connect to the other hillside and to get across this babbling creek. I was not able to find any signs of it. It was made of wood and, hasn't existed for 115 to 120 years, something like that. So, that wood is all long disintegrated. So the pathway through this yard over here and then sort of went up that way. Again, it's all been regraded. It's all a lot of private property now, but so it's kind of hard to imagine the path. This is sort of one of the parts of the project where the old path doesn't exist anymore. It predated a lot of these plots and subdivisions and developments, so it just kind of went through land where it made sense then, and all that land's since been regraded and turned into street grid and homes and yards and gardens, and so it seems pretty lost. It's pretty cool to think there's just this random field here that used to have a bit of Seattle bike history. So the path came somehow through somewhere over here, and it came kind of across, and went across 24th Avenue, which was a wagon path, somewhere over there, sort of by where the driveway is now. And then it cut straight through what is now basically just through houses. You know, those houses just obviously didn't exist back then. And just went straight through the plots where now there's houses just right on top of where the old bike trail was. So we'll try to pick it up on the other side of these houses, I guess. All right, so the pathway went through, like, you know, the living rooms and garages of these houses all along this block, and it came out kind of where this red fence is, I think. And then it came out onto what is now called Interlaken Place, aptly named because it used to actually be part of the old trail route. So the path came somewhere from over there, came out and it followed the road, and then basically went into the side of that house over there and back into the neighborhood. But you can see this is the part where if you look at the plot of the land, that was actually pretty flat. So that, you know, when there wasn't a house there, I guess that route made sense. So the path used to come out where that alley is right there, which is kind of interesting. And then it went down what's now 29th Avenue towards Madison. So you got 29th Avenue behind me. The path came along this way, and then it turned down Madison, where they had constructed a bridge. So I think most people don't think of Madison being a bridge here, but between Madison Valley and Madison Park, there's a huge ravine, and so Madison Street is a bridge. And when that was built, that was the only way to get across the ravine easily on a bike, so that's why the bike path came all the way out to Madison. Okay, so at Madison and Lake Washington Boulevard, the path started again, kind of where the sidewalk is, over on this street. And it continued straight across past the little post there. There's this concrete post. And then it followed more along the 31st Avenue East route, kind of very close to where there's some houses now, so it's not going to be exactly there anymore, until it got to Ward, and then it turned from Ward towards the Arboretum. So here we're on 31st, and you can see, well, I don't know if you can see that, but the sidewalk sort of curves this way, closer to the homes, and then there's this sort of extended out planting strip, space between where the street is and, you know, the parked cars out there and the houses and the sidewalk. And this sidewalk actually follows pretty closely to the old Interlaken bike path. So maybe it was already a path and they just wanted to preserve it. I don't know, but maybe that explains why there's this kind of abnormally large planting strip here. All right, I think I did it. Look, this path right here, that is the old path. That is a stretch of the old Interlaken bike path, and I think it might be the only stretch in existence that is basically the way that it was. I mean, you know, a lot of the tree species are different, I'm sure, but you can still ride the old Interlaken bike path, is what I'm saying. I found it. I'm very excited. This feels like I'm uncovering some treasure here. It's right here in the middle of the Arboretum, which makes sense because once they had a path there, they just didn't change that path because why would they? It's already established. So that's pretty cool. It still exists. I'm gonna have to ride it. All right, so I don't know if you're technically allowed to bike this path. There were no signs that said you couldn't, but I think you typically cannot bike the Arboretum trails that are not designated for biking. But I am going to go ahead and make an exception for this one because it is our first bike path. You know what? We should be able to bike our very first bike path. That seems fair. Or if no one else can, I guess I will do it now. And you can all watch the video. So, yeah. Very first Seattle bicyclists would have biked down this trail. That's pretty neat. Well, that was fun and an idea. I don't actually recommend anyone bike down this path because you end up in kind of one of the more manicured parts of the Arboretum where you're definitely not supposed to have a bike. So I just ended up walking my bike most of the way. But I did get to bike part of the path. That was cool. And then this is the last section that I have on my plot. Is this section right here. Lines up pretty much perfectly with the old plot. So this goes out and then it hits Arboretum Drive, and that's where my plot runs out. So that was cool. We found it. We found the old bike path. How cool is that? So I just got back from riding it. I can't say I would recommend it, but you should walk it. It's what works much better. The other end of the path goes somewhere where you're definitely not supposed to have a bike. And so I ended up walking my bike for most of it. But yeah, if you're ever in the Arboretum, here's the trail you're supposed to be on. There's a little gravel area over here that you can sort of park, maybe lock your wheel to itself. And yeah, just going up the trail and check it out. It's kind of neat. You know, you can imagine yourself in an old-timey photo or something. So yeah, thanks for coming on this journey with me. That was really fun for me anyway. I'm really glad that we found it. I feel very satisfied, and yeah, I guess I'll gonna go eat something. Take care.